Hello students, welcome to the POL.SCIENCE of class 12 arts, and today we will start discussing about the important points related to the chapter globalization. Previously regarding this chapter of globalization we had discussed few points, and today onwards we will discuss the remaining points related to this chapter. So let us proceed then. Now, the first point that comes about the chapter globalization is the concept. How can we define globalization? So let us proceed then. So number one concept regarding globalization is that globalization as a concept fundamentally deals with flows. That means flows of ideas, flows of connectivities. Clear? So it deals with flows. These flows could be of various kinds, that is ideas moving from one part of the world to another, then capital shunted between two or more places, commodities being traded across borders, and people moving in search of better livelihood to different parts of the world. So globalization as a concept, according to number one point, is being subdivided under four heads. Globalization can be said as the flows of ideas, number one, and these ideas can move from one part of the world to another. Then under the second subhead, it can be defined as capital shunted between two or more places. The number three can be related to globalization, can be defined as the commodities being traded across borders. And number four, people moving in search of better livelihood to different parts of the world. So people generally move for better livelihoods so that they can earn a healthy sum of money in order to better their livelihood. So globalization can generally be flow of ideas also, then capital also shunted between two or more places, then commodities being brought from one place to another, which is actually traded, and lastly the people who are moving in search of better livelihood to different parts of the world. After that comes the second point related to concept of globalization. As a multidimensional concept, it has political, economic and cultural manifestations, and these must be distinguished adequately. Clear? So it has multidimensional concept. That means it does not ends only defining. It has various ways regarding the concept, understanding the term globalization. So what are its manifestation? What are the sides? It has political manifestations, it has economic manifestations, it has cultural manifestations also. And whatever these political manifestations, economic and cultural manifestations are there, this must be distinguished adequately. These have a differentiation. Now regarding the third point, globalization may have negative impacts also, as it failed to generate sufficient employment. So globalization as a whole can be said as a positive impact, but it has also some negative impact. Because of this globalization, lots of unemployment was created actually, and as a part of globalization it was failed to generate sufficient employment that was needed in any part of the world. Now modern methods of cultivation are not acquainted to less educated persons. It creates income inequality and exploits natural resources and labor force. So how does negative impact? Globalization brings negative impacts. For example, modern methods of cultivation have already arrived due to flows of ideas, due to flows of trade. So modern methods of cultivation are not acquainted to less educated people, because farmers can be less educated and they could not also be acquainted with those modern methods of cultivation. And on the other hand, it creates income inequality and exploits natural resources and labor force. So due to these modern methods of cultivation, it results in what? Firstly, it exploits natural resources due to the high yielding compost that comes through the globalization. It affects what? the natural resources, and along with that it also affects the labor force. Clear? After that comes the causes of globalization. So what are the causes? Globalization is about the flows of ideas, capital, commodities and people. Perhaps it is logically to ask if there is anything novel about this phenomenon, because we know that globalization in a simple concept is the flow of ideas, capital, commodities and people. People moving from one place to another, commodities being traded from one part of the world to another, capital or sending of capital of two or more places can be there, and flows of ideas can also be related to the globalization. Now, number two is globalization is not caused by any single factor. It is the result of historical factors, technological innovations, liberalization of foreign trade and investment policies, and opening of multinational companies. So how was actually globalization was caused or born? So globalization was caused not by a single factor, but many factors are there, such as the historical factors are also there by which globalization was caused. Then technological innovations, new ideas related to technology was also the reason for the globalization process. Then liberalization of foreign trade and investment policies, whatever the trade related to foreign trade was there and investment policies were there. Due to both of these and the liberalization related to the foreign trade and investment policies led to the cause of globalization and opening of multinational companies. That means many MNCs has came to every country in the world. Earlier it was not possible, but due to the coming or opening of MNCs also globalization was caused. So it is not due to single factor. It is the result of number one, historical factors, number two, technological innovations, number three, liberalization of foreign trade and investment policies, and number four, opening of multinational companies. So number four is the invention of telephone, the microchip, etc. in more recent times have revolutionized communication between different parts of the world. And suppose 50 years back it was not possible to communicate with people living in different parts of the world, but now due to the invention of telephone, mobile phone and the microchip, in more recent times it has actually changed, it has revolutionized the communication. A person can easily, by sitting in his home, can reach to any people living in any part of the world. It's due to the invention of telephone and microchip. And lastly, the ability of ideas, capital, commodities and people to move more easily from one part of the world to another has been made possible largely by technological advances. So whatever the concept related to globalization is there, it may be flow of ideas, then sending of capital, trading of commodities and moving of people. It has become all these four things have been more easily been able to move from one part of the world to the another because of one reason only, due to advancement in technological side. If technology was not upgraded that much, so at that time these ideas, capital, commodities and people would not have been successful in moving more easily from one part of the world to another. It is largely due to technological advancement only that these flows of ideas, capital, commodities and people can move more easily nowadays. So with this I will wind up today's topic related to the point globalization. And in today's topic we read about the three concepts related to globalization, and after that we discussed about another four causes of globalization, what led to the causes of globalization. So please go through these important points nicely and try to understand by going through line by line, and please make a note down of all these important points that we have discussed today regarding this chapter of globalization. So I hope that whatever the points we have discussed is clear to you, Thank you.